Hi, this is Rebecca Smith with Help for Homeschool. I am so glad you are joining us today. In the last two videos, we talked about educational philosophy and how to find the right homeschool curriculum for you. In the third part of this series, I want to talk to you about what our family uses and also where some popular homeschool curriculums fall on that spectrum of different homeschooling methods. Perhaps you were trying to find a curriculum that fits one of those homeschool methods. I'm going to talk about some of the ones that are available to you, where to find them, and some of their different price points. Growing up, I did ABAC curriculum from preschool through graduation. At the time, it was really one of the only curriculums available to homeschoolers. There were a few other things, but the two that you heard about the most were ABAC and Bob Jones. ABAC is a very traditional curriculum. It was designed to be used in a private school classroom with a classroom full of students sitting at desks with a teacher. The program is mostly solid, covering basically what you need to know upon graduation. However, it doesn't always translate very well into a homeschool setting. That being said, it is one of the most popular curriculums out there, but I did not choose to use it for my kids. Why didn't I use it? Well, I have several reasons. One, I felt like there were some large holes, especially in the high school curriculum, that did not well prepare me for college. Specifically, it was very weak on science, math, and literature. I feel like I spent most of my 20s playing catch up, trying to read all of the books that all of my peers read in high school. It did not prepare me at all for college math. I barely passed college algebra. I was pretty embarrassed by how much I struggled in those areas when I got there. That being said, again, ABAC is overall a solid program. It just had some deficits that I was not willing to live with. Every homeschool curriculum is going to have some deficits. Every school program is going to have some deficits. There is no one perfect thing that's going to cover everything your kids need to know, but these were big deals to me. Number two, ABAC comes from a fundamentalist theological background, which is not my theological beliefs now. So I really wasn't comfortable with that being in my kids' education. And three, I didn't want to use so many workbooks. ABAC is a very workbook heavy program. It's just a lot of seat work that can actually turn pretty rigorous even with some of what I feel like are deficits. I didn't want all of our homeschooling experience to be sitting down with a workbook. I wanted us to read more books together and do more exploring and experimentation. I wanted to utilize videos and field trips and other resources, and ABAC was just too traditional for what I envisioned for our family. So what do we use? At the core of our homeschool curriculum, I use a program called Sunlight. Now, Sunlight is a literature-based boxed curriculum, which means you can buy everything you need from Sunlight that all comes in one box. You can get every subject covered. I don't use every one of our subjects from Sunlight, but I do feel like it is the core, the most important piece to our homeschooling puzzle. Sunlight blends some Charlotte Mason and some classical together in a literature-based approach. You read a ton of books every year, some that the kids read, some that you read to them as read alouds, and especially in the upper grades, it blends in history as well, and those living books make history come alive. Now that my sixth grader has been doing it for 7 years, I'm really beginning to see the benefits of this type of education in his life. He has a rich understanding of history and culture. I feel like he is really developing a good taste for literature and really enjoying learning and thinking in this way. My fourth grader is also starting to show some of these same things. He loves stories and good, high quality stories. Still reads plenty of kid books as well, but I'm seeing the benefit of this type of education, and I love it even more than when I started it at the beginning. Another thing I really like about Sunlight is that it is almost entirely reusable. So the price tag is a little higher. I think I spent around $550 for my oldest's curriculum this year. However, I will barely have to buy anything else to go with that for my other 4 kids. So in the long run, it really isn't very expensive, especially if you have multiple kids. Also, even if you maybe are only teaching 1 or 2, it resells at a very high rate. Most of the curriculum is made up of novels, and those are reusable. So it generally sells for about 50% of the original purchase price if you're selling it online. One more thing I like about Sunlight is that for teaching history, they don't rely on one spine, one central textbook to teach kids all of the historical information they need. Instead, they bring in lots of books, both fiction and nonfiction, from various authors and perspectives to give a well-balanced view of history. I really like this. It's hard to have a completely unbiased view of history, but using multiple resources and multiple perspectives, I really feel like is helping them to think about these things well. In addition to Sunlight, we use various other things. Several of my kids use The Good and the Beautiful Language Arts, which has been a great fit for them. Even though ABAC isn't my favorite, we have used their grammar, especially for my middle schooler. And we've used some of their elementary science books. All of my boys use Beast Academy for math, which is a totally out-of-the-box math curriculum geared towards children who are gifted in math. It uses graphic novels and puzzles and just kind of blows my mind with how out-of-the-box it is, but they mostly love it. I'd say 2 out of 3 of them really enjoy it. For science, we really utilize our local homeschool co-op, and while we do some science curriculum at home, the majority of their science has taken place at our co-op, which is great because I really dislike doing science experiments at home. They are messy and I'm not good at them. So it's nice that they can go do those there and they really enjoy those classes. So basically, I think that you would label our family as an eclectic homeschool family. Eclectic homeschoolers pull from a variety of resources, a variety of methods as best fit their kids. And I think that a lot of families, maybe the majority of families, fall into this eclectic category where they are choosing different methods for different kids or for different subject matters. So what about other popular homeschool curriculums? Where do they fall on that spectrum of educational philosophy? I just want to talk about a couple and say where they fall. Maybe you've heard of them and maybe you haven't, and maybe you're looking for something that fits a specific homeschooling method, and I can help you find that. So if we start with traditional, I already talked about ABAC, but you also have Bob Jones, Time for Learning, Easy Peasy. Those are some of the more popular traditional homeschooling curriculum. Now, Time for Learning, it's online, and Easy Peasy is online, so it's not quite the same as being in a desk at a chair, but I would say they still really do fit into that traditional approach. These are generally the easiest for parents because everything is laid out. I think, especially in elementary, you have to worry a little less about holes in the curriculum. If you're planning on returning to a brick and mortar school next year, this might be a good choice for you because they will really follow very closely to what they're doing in a public or even private school environment. One of the negatives with this is if you have multiple kids and you're planning on homeschooling a long time, these methods may be a little bit more expensive because you basically have to rebuy everything. If you're using ABAC, for instance, the history and some of the readers and the science textbooks might be able to be reused, but all of your math workbooks, all of your grammar workbooks, tests, all of that is going to have to be repurchased every year, and across several kids, the price really does add up, even though it might be a little less the first year you do it. These programs are also going to be a little less fun and engaging. You might not interest your kids quite as much. So you kind of have to balance the pros and the cons and figure out, like I said in one of the earlier videos, what are your goals for homeschooling this year? What are you looking to get out of it this year for your kids? And can kind of tell you if this method is right for you. If we're looking at classical curriculums, by far the most popular classical curriculum is Classical Conversations, which is actually a series of learning communities spread out throughout the country. There are probably 5 or 6 within 30 minutes of our house. They're very, very popular, and it is that classical style of education. You go one day a week to like a co-op, the kids go to their classes and they do homework related to that throughout the week. And they are very popular. It's really a solid Christian classical program. Some other classical curriculums include Veritas, Memoria Press, Classical Academic Press. These programs are also very good. Now, most classical curriculum is going to be Christian-based. There are a few that aren't, but by and large, they are 99% Christian-based programs. When we move on to Charlotte Mason, you will find a vast array of Charlotte Mason curriculums. Some only use bits and pieces of Charlotte Mason. Some are full-on, completely Charlotte Mason curriculums. One most popular one would be simply Charlotte Mason, which is completely Charlotte Mason. Also, Ambleside Online, which is a free curriculum, completely free. Online is a Charlotte Mason curriculum. The only thing that you need to buy are the actual books. And if you have a good library near you, you may not need to buy any books at all. Other programs like Beautiful Feet and Heart of Dakota use Charlotte Mason ideas, but might not be considered a fully Charlotte Mason program. Another Charlotte Mason-y curriculum is The Good and the Beautiful, which is extremely popular right now. That's what we use for language arts. It really combines beautiful artwork and poetry with language arts in a way that's been very engaging for my kids. It's also a very solid program and tends to run slightly advanced. My kids have really done well with it. It is a little weak in spelling for the language arts. Also, I don't care too much for their history curriculum. I feel like it's a little soft, especially in terms of topics like race. It might be just a little revisionist, maybe, might be the way to put it. But overall, it is a very good curriculum. My 3-year-old is using the preschool program right now, and she really cannot get enough of it. So I really only use their language arts. The great thing about The Good and the Beautiful is that the language arts curriculum for 1st through 5th is a free PDF download online. I usually order the books and they're very inexpensive, $50 or less for the year generally. But if you have a way to print things, the PDFs can be a great option for you. Also, right now, almost everything on The Good and the Beautiful's website is sold out. So if you're looking for curriculum right now in August 2020, downloading the PDFs might be a way for you to get started immediately. Another program I've been hearing a lot about is Blossom and Root, which is a secular Charlotte Mason program. It looks very similar to The Good and the Beautiful to me, but I haven't really explored it other than checking out their website. There are so many to talk about, and I can really only cover the ones that I am hearing the most about and the ones that are kind of the most popular right now. If you would like to know about a specific curriculum, please drop a note in the comments. I would love to do a video reviewing it if I have it on hand. So please let me know, what are you planning on using for your kids next year? What are you looking at? What are you interested in? And please like and subscribe, because I have a lot more videos that are going to be coming out very soon covering topics like homeschooling and autism, what I'm using for my preschooler, and free curriculum. So thank you so much for watching.